Hi everyone, welcome back to the video series on how to use ExamSimulator. In the last episode we were looking at how to actually mark some exam answers, some 4-mark GCSE questions, and I went through with you Homer and Barney's answers and showed you how to expand some certain answer fields or change them, delete them, and showed you how to assign them to certain points. What I'm going to do in this video is show you how to actually leave feedback for the students. Now, if you remember from the previous video, Homer's answers were a lot more secure than Barney's answers. Homer showed a lot more application to the examples in the questions, and whereas Barney actually was more lacking that and just basically wrote the knowledge and didn't apply it to the questions. So what you'll notice here is that Homer has scored 12 out of 12, and if we were to go to Barney, he's actually only scored 6 out of 12. So when you are providing feedback to students, you basically have two choices. You can either give feedback individually in terms of individual questions and individual points, which is done on the side here, should I say, this box here is overall exam level feedback, where you can actually feedback at the end or as you go, and they basically get that as an overall picture of how they've done. So I'm going to talk you through both today. So if we have a look at Barney's to start with, what we could do as well is where we think actually he needed to have put in a little bit more detail, we can actually use the grey speech bubble feature on our marking. So in this question we talked about the fact that he'd said, oh, rib cage protects vital organs, but he didn't actually link that to judo. So what I can do here is, let's say the rib cage also helps, the bit that's not highlighted yet. If I highlight that, in fact, let me just delete that first because we didn't want that to be picked up, did we? So if I delete that but then highlight it afterwards, I can actually use this grey speech bubble here. And what I'm able to do is choose a point that I want to kind of discuss with the student. So in this case, point 4, and I can just write here to Barney, in order to access this mark, you must apply it to judo specifically. So actually what we're able to do here is we're able to give feedback as we go. You can also leave feedback with your ticks. So if you wanted to say, you know, particularly good answer, so let's say here with point 1, I could say excellent justification of why reaction time is important. So we're able to give feedback as we go to individual points. We can give them to ticks, to crosses. So if someone's got something factually wrong and we might want to use the red cross feature, we can. Or if it's something where they've just missed a little bit out or the technique's not quite right, we can use the grey speech bubble. And we can do that for all things. So again, I might want to say here, we'll use certain devices. So this is a really good option actually. So if I highlight that and click the grey speech bubble, I can assign that to point 8, because that's the bit about the mechanical guidance, and say, make sure you mention what those devices are. Because if they'd have written the word float, they'd have picked the final mark up. So that is a really, really good way of using that feature. What we're able to do then, once we've marked them all, or you can add this as you go, we're able to provide exam level feedback. So Barney, in your questions, make sure that when you are writing your responses, you link your points to the examples in the question itself. So basically, I'm just giving some kind of overall feedback. It doesn't need to be long, or it can be as long as you want basically, but it's more of an overall picture rather than like specific points. And then once you're happy with that, as I said in the previous video, you release the exam back to the student. They will get their mark, they will get all of the feedback you've given them, and they can look at that as many times as they want. And the really good thing about this is you're not just giving them general feedback as you would when you're marking on paper, but they get specific feedback and they see the marking points as well. So they will see this screen, and that's really important because when we mark on paper, we often just tick or cross things and make maybe a small comment, but the student doesn't know where they're actually dropping the marks from in terms of what should I've written according to the mark scheme, or what are they looking for. And with this interface, you can physically see the point that you've assigned it to, you can see the comment, you can see what the other marks were available. So this is a really, really good feature in terms of actually as a learning tool and using it for feedback, not just setting exams and just letting the software do it all for you. In the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how this works for an extended writing question. Cheers.